Guys, so I have two options. Do we go for the clip or do we let him win?
He needs to go for the clip. That's no doubt in my mind. But either way, thank you guys for clicking on this video. I think you will learn quite a lot from MrSavage today because we are going in depth, guys. We're going to learn how he W keys in Tilted Towers. And he's been making quite a lot of videos in Tilted Towers. So there's quite a lot of content we can actually VOD review and sort of learn from. So let's get right into it. We are going to learn how he W keys in these lobbies. And more importantly, it's something important to understand, right? Just because they're less skilled players in arena and they're not pro players doesn't mean we can't learn from his W keying ability. First thing that I want you guys to notice right away is the fact that he doesn't replace this wall right away. Why does he do that? He sees that their opponent doesn't have their blueprint out, and this allows MrSavage to you have to understand, big part of fight that pretty much everyone misses except for like the top tier pros is the top tier pros actually watch what the opponent is doing in terms of, are they holding out a blueprint or are they holding out their gun? And that itself is a very important detail to understand, but I can tell you for a fact that pros do look for that. In this specific case, you can see that the opponent has the gun out. So instead of trying to replace right away, what you can do is sort of just spray, right? Just spray and see how much damage you can get, and potentially replace if the opponent's threatening to come out of the box. And that's exactly what the opponent was trying to do. So MrSavage just replaces the wall. So yes, pay attention to what the opponent doing. What is the opponent doing right now? Opponent's going for the edit. What are they editing? Probably the wall, right? But they end up canceling the edit. But you can see that, right? Like, actually pay attention. Look at the video. What is the opponent doing here? They have the pencil out. There's three different options. There's the gun. There's the blueprint, which is probably just holding a build, and then there's the edit selection where they have their pencil out, and there's actually a fourth option where they sort of like wave the pencil a little bit, and that tells you they actually selected a tile. So there's even more in-depth options that you have past that, so to sort of read your opponent. Obviously in some very, very fast-paced fights, you don't have the time to sort of look into that detail, but in most fights, honestly, you are sort of sitting still in a position like relatively spaced out from your opponent where you can look at that detail, and that detail will help you out a lot. Consciously go into arena, actually try to fix that sort of mistake that you're making by not taking advantage of that extra bit of information that could actually swing the fight in your favor. Actually try to implement that one little detail and you'll notice significant improvement across all your fights. You can notice the blueprint through your wall or sometimes through their wall, right? And see what they're doing. What is this opponent doing? They're holding a blueprint. They're holding the wall. So that means are you under threat? No, not really. You can just wait here. You're not actually in danger here until you see the pencil come out or you see the edit. You have to understand, when the edit comes out, there's gun swap delay on the opponent. The opponent has to pull out their gun after the edit. So in that case, Savage can just move left behind the door. So it's actually not in that much danger here. You can sort of keep track, right? You can look through the wall. Gun out. This is where you need to be careful, right? Obviously, MrSavage is not that worried because you can just replace the stair. Heard the shot from the opponent. I'm sure you hear this at this point. And this is a very good indication to understand, like, hey, the opponent's shot hit my ramp and I accidentally edited right afterwards. I can take this trade. This trade is a very good trade to take. MrSavage should actually take that shot pretty much every single time. So in this fight specifically, starts with height, and I think that's something that you guys are going to all apply right away to your fights as well. You can have this sort of flowchart where you start with height first and then work your way down, because height is just nice, right? It gives you options. You can then leave if you want. If the fight looks bad and looks like it's like an elongated fight, looks like third party, but whatever, you can just leave. That's why establishing height is actually good. It's nice to get them in the defensive position because, in my opinion, it's nice to have the initiative in the fight where you get to decide what you want to do. And in this case, obviously, Savage is just going to decide to just W key. There's no doubt in that. Places the cone, or replaces the stair rather, with a cone. Something really important to understand right here is a couple things, okay? When he makes this edit, does he jump? No, because if you jump, you're not going to bounce your head off the floor above you, which is going to be a longer jump, which you just don't want in general. Something to understand about jumping. Once you jump, you're actually committed to that sort of movement. You can't move left or right that easily. So if you can fight without jumping, and Reet does this a lot. You actually learn this through Resub's video. If you watch his video on Reet, he talks about not jumping. I absolutely agree. This is a right hand peanut butter edit, peek without jumping, right? Not this one, but the one upcoming right there. So instead of jumping, right, which is absolutely not sort of recommended if you don't have a floor above you, because actually if you have a floor above you, you bounce your head off the floor and fall back down really quickly, which puts you out of sight in a safer position much faster than you would have been if there wasn't a floor above you. The next thing that I sort of want to talk about is just move to the right. That's the other option, right? So in this case, if you watch your back really, really slowly, right, I'm going to sort of slow it down actually, but in this specific case, right, not this shot because he missed and the opponent's also like just looking away, so like screw that. But in this specific case, instead of jumping, right, he edits, shoots, and then quickly resets. But notice he doesn't jump, right? And you're able to make nice right hand peeks and expose your opponent for a lot more than you're exposed if you just move like that. This is where it ties into the movement aspect of the game. A lot of people underrate movement. and I don't think it's a right thing to do. You should practice your movement. How do you practice movement? No, it's not death runs. You need to do box fights. You need to do realistics, and I think that's a very good way to sort of practice your movement in a fighting capacity, right? You don't want to practice movements in death run because you don't have the pressure of fighting, you don't have the pressure of hitting your edits properly, and you don't have the pressure of hitting your shot, right? And I feel like tying all of these things with your movement is how you get good fighting movement, right? So let's move on past this fight right here. Starts this fight a little bit weird. Obviously it's arena, so he's not trying his hardest, so he doesn't really care that much about like someone having a right hand peek on him. Either way, why does he not push? It comes down to HP advantage. Very simple. If you are losing on HP, don't just continue to push with an ego and sort of think like, I'm just going to outplay this guy. Just heal up. Let them come to you, right? Because if they come to you, you can make a play then if you want. Like if you can catch them off guard with their pickaxe out or something like that, that could be good. If you feel like they're sort of looking out for that aspect and like they're like single swinging or like, you know, really nice right hand peek behind a wall, and you're sort of scared to edit, then just expand out one more box. And I think that will buy you more times and eventually make them really impatient and they'll make a mistake then. But here, Savage tries to jump in because it's arena, to be honest with you. So that's sort of why. But he does get punished, right? Pretty simple. Let's see what he does after this, right? So he does do a dump thing, which honestly he would have never done if it wasn't arena. He's not bad. Like, trust me. I understand that he's doing this because it's arena. But let's see how he sort of plays this. Yes, the opponent has to break this wall. So Savage is going to go for pre-fire. Hit some 82. Very nice, right? Really nice pre-fire. Something that goes into sort of defensive play, right? If you're so low compared to the opponent and you haven't done any sort of meaningful damage to the opponent, you are probably not going to get those heals off. It's probably better to get damage back on your opponent to put the HPs closer together, so then they're more hesitant to push you. This is where pre-fires are good. This is how you get your opponent off of you. A lot of people ask me, Zycoma, how do I get my opponent off of me when I'm healing? Because like they seem to pressure really, really well. You need to get damage back. That's the reality of it. Yes, you can't be scared of 20 HP. Like, you know, you're so low, like you can't be scared of that. You have to either go for pre-fire, which is relatively safe because they're either pickaxe swinging on your wall or they're just like spraying at your wall. You can really time a really good pre-fire in this situation. But in the other case, right, let's say they're not doing that. Let's say you already have a wall and they're not sort of swinging. You need to go for a really good peek. Peeks are really, really important, and this is where movement ties back into it. Peeks are a really, really good way to sort of get damage back on someone without taking damage in return, and you absolutely can't take damage in return when you have 20 HP, bro. Right? Like, that's just not an option. Either way, pre-fire is what Savage chose. Savage actually goes for another pre-fire, sort of telling us a lesson here, and tries to go for potentially more pre-fires over and over. Why does he go for a shot here? Why does he feel safe to go for a shot here? Let me sort of explain this. So opponent's wall, why doesn't he flip the cone right away? Why can't he go for a shot? When the opponent edits, you have to understand, the opponent has gun swap delay. So that's the important thing to understand, right? And if the opponent sort of shoots, right, and sort of tries to go for a jump shot, Savage can actually go for a shot and edit his cone before the opponent has their gun out. Does that make sense? So let's watch it back really, really quickly here. Right, opponent has the wall. Opponent edits. Opponent now does not have their gun out. They have to pull out their gun. So Savage can actually go for a pre-fire and potentially try to get some damage before he flips the cone. I don't think he actually tried to get this wall. He accidentally gets the wall, right? Like he gets it afterwards. And then notices the opponent has a shot, but actually the opponent has attack. So there's no like punish that you can do here. If the opponent has a pump and accidentally pumps the wall, you can immediately make a wide edit because you understand that the pump's not ready for a small duration of time. Go for a shot and then close the wall. Okay. But in this case, the opponent has attack, so that's not really applicable. In this case, why does he edit? It's pretty simple. The opponent's looking away. The crosshair placement's not on MrSavage, so the opponent just runs away. MrSavage turns around and looks for a fight in that aspect, right? Like the open peaks when your opponent's not looking at you. It's pretty simple, right? Right here, I don't think you should do this sort of thing. Why not take the wall without, right? Like you can just take this wall when the stair is facing this way. That's what I would do, right? I'm sure he's trying to phase in, but you can just flip it when it's one hit. Really, really good right hand peek. This is where peeks come in, this is where movement comes in, and this is where you really have to focus on that aspect if you're playing realistics. How do I improve my movement faster? Focus on it while you're playing realistics. If you're just playing realistics autopilot, you will not improve as fast as someone who's focused on their movement while they're playing realistic. There's a difference, right? And I think that's absolutely something that you guys could like implement, because movement is important. You can't peek well without good movement. Peeks are a very important element of fighting in Fortnite, especially the right hand peek. Peeks exist in all shooters, okay? Either way, let's talk about what happened here because it's actually very, very important. I'm going to mute, put it on very slow motion so we can go through this and break this down. This goes into spacing, guys. Spacing is one of the most important concepts in fighting itself, because you could have really, really good aim, but if you don't space properly, you could have a lot of random stuff happen to you, like someone jumping in your box and hitting you for 180. That sort of thing can happen. So MrSavage is very, very good at spacing and also reading his opponent. So he tries to go for the very, very tiny shot here. I want you to notice how unexposed the opponent was. Right here, you can see the opponent, right? So MrSavage sees this, tries to go for the shot. It's actually very, very close, but hits the wall. Grabs the wall after breaking it through the stair, makes a wide edit. Understands that pretty much the opponent has the option to run at him here, right? So he's ready for it. And how does he react so quickly? There's one thing that you can do, right? You need to sort of think about that possibility, the worst case scenario, in your head before it happens. And then when it does happen, you're ready for it. You don't have to process the fact that it's happening. Then as soon as the opponent does the move, you can just immediately react. You don't need to sort of think about what's going on. You've already thought about the possibility of it happening, and that's going to give you a better reaction time right away. It's a very quick way to sort of improve your reaction speed without actually improving your reaction speed. So he's actually thinking about what's happening here, and that gives him a really nice reaction speed as to what's going on, right? He's able to process it. I have to like understand this is half speed, right? It's not full speed. So actually replaces the cone, hits him 45, and then replaces the wall, like resets it, and then places a stair for the next layer. So if this opponent actually placed a cone, it would be kind of messed up, but I think it wouldn't be that bad because placing a cone gives you gun swap delay, which would give Savage the time to sort of back up and reset the next wall. But either way, this stair sort of seals the deal. The fight's over. At this point, if you just make good peaks, it's pretty much over because I'm pretty sure you own the right and left walls, and it should be pretty free from here. Owns himself, so he can't get stared off when he makes the edit that's upcoming. Tries to bait the shot so that if the opponent does shoot with the pump, you can then immediately make any sort of edit you want, probably, you know, preferably a wide edit, and then go for a shot yourself. Right here, shoot, and then like you have to understand, there's no gun sound, right? But you have to see this, right? So bait the shot, hold, right? Because the opponent's going to shoot. The opponent did shoot, and then in this case, you make the widest edit possible to expose your opponent. And why doesn't he reset the wall? Because the opponent's walking into the box. Resetting the wall no longer does anything in this case, right? Because the opponent's going to walk into the box, and all you need to do is just flip your cone, because resetting the wall, like, it doesn't change anything if the opponent walked past it. So you go for the shot, and then flip the cone. Ideally, after this, you can actually decide what you want to do. You can edit out the left, or you can also just reset this if you want to go for the trade. But in my opinion, this is kind of risky. So he just crosshairs. I feel like he understands the opponent's going to go for the weak cone, and then he just crosshairs through the cone, and then like sort of pre-fires with an SMG, which is kind of cool. Pretty good reaction time, honestly. I don't think he would have the time to sort of exit the box. I want you to understand, this is not something that's going on in MrSavage's brain like in real time, right? He's practiced this. This is the reasoning behind his plays, but he sort of practiced this to the point where it's become implicit and sort of automatic. And that's where you want to be, right? You don't want to be overthinking this much at game. That's just not possible. I'm sorry. When it's this fast paced, you can't be thinking about this much, right? This is why the practice in realistics is really good, because it's very high rep. So if you know what you need to work on, all you have to do is high rep practice and focus on that one thing, and you'll improve very, very quickly. Nice 45 damage shot, right? And then this sort of tactic of a reset, right? And then holding is probably sort of automated in his head at this point. Here's the shot. That's the trigger. In this case, the opponent's gun's not ready anymore, right? The pump has a sort of delay after shooting. So he makes the widest edit possible and goes to the shot. I've explained this before. And then flips the cone to prevent any more damage, and then go for the SMG pre-fire, which is really nice. He's processing things really fast. That's something that MrSavage and really, and other tier 1 pros honestly have in common, is that they are able to process things fast. Why are they able to process these things fast? They've been in these scenarios a lot, right? And I mean a lot. Okay, let's watch this. Harpoons in. Potential surprise, right? Like, there is that aspect, but I don't think you would do that in a real game. Like, this is arena, so you can't take everything that MrSavage is doing here as gospel. This is the best thing to do. You can't do that, right? This is arena. You have to understand he's not, like, he's having a good time. That's what he's really doing. But his fundamentals, his habits are still there. So let's talk about this. Why does he make a wide edit on the second edit? The first edit is almost like a surprise, right? Because he got the wall and he's sort of like surprising him. He's also sort of testing, like, let's see what happens, right? If you go for a trade, let's see, there's several possibilities here. Both of you guys hit each other in equal amount. In that case, the fight's kind of equal. If you get the hit, right, and the opponent doesn't hit you, then you can play differently accordingly after that, right? You can sort of go for a more aggressive play because you now have HP advantage. If the opponent hits you and you don't hit them, then in that case, it's just better to sort of back up. Like, then you're going to place this right wall, defensive piece control, and then edit through and just get out, okay? Really, really good edit and accuracy afterwards, like with his shot. Like, if you watch it back, his crosshair is really, really far. But that's something that Fortnite players are really, really good at, is sort of flick accuracy across long distances. His crosshair is over here, but he still hits a headshot, which is really, really nuts, right? But you have to understand, like I said before, the opponent misses the shot completely, but Savage hits it. So then in that case, he wants to be aggressing because of the HP advantage being so big. 91 HP advantage, right? In that case, you just want to make a widest edit possible and take the trade. As long as you have reliable aim, you should just win the fight. Understand, this is a video, guys. If I'm actually talking really quickly, I have a bad habit of doing that. Just replay the video. I will try to speak a little bit slower, but I'm kind of hyped. Like, Savage is just fast-paced, man. Like, I don't know. I can't help it. He's just nuts. quite literally just aim duels. Really, really good sort of get out plus piece control. Again, like he pretty much won the fight. He could actually just stay in the box and he would just pretty much win the fight anyways. But I think the reason why he sort of jumps out is because of the fact that his SMG is out, right? He used half of his bullets into the floor and then uses pretty much the rest of the bullets, right? He has very little, but he doesn't want to risk opening up his SMG with like 4 bullets. That's not worth it. So he gets out and then edits this floor and goes for another shot. So this ties into movement, right? Having really good movement and getting used to that. Again, do high volume work, which is realistics. You get really, really good mechs in that sort of sense. When I say mechs, right, there's sort of different types of mechs. There's unrealistic mechanics and there's sort of mechanics which can be very practical. And I think arena and realistics actually help that a lot. Zone wars is also good because it sort of ties into the verticality of it and sort of piece controlling people while you're on the move. That's something that zone wars actually helps you do, and sort of keeping track of opponents and understanding where your teammates are. Like there's a whole bunch of reasons why zone wars is also good, and there's a reason why people play it. But I think the main reason why people play it is just like the enjoyment of it. People really, really like zone wars, especially the wager kids. You do end up practicing for longer if you enjoy what you're doing. That's just the reality of it. So if you do like box fights over realistics, I would recommend box fights to you, because the reality of it, right, is that you're just gonna end up playing box fights for longer than you would have with realistics. You can give yourself an advantage by having fun. So if arena's not that fun for you, yes, you could force yourself to do it, and I do think that some people do need to force themselves to do it, but sometimes have some fun, guys. Like seriously, it's not bad as long as you're playing the game and trying your hardest. Like it's not necessarily the worst thing. HP advantage, so he's okay with like sort of reloading the bullet. He pretty much won that fight after the first shot. Like most fights, if you really look at the pattern, right, with pro players, most fights look like this. They go for a piece, right? Like they go for like some sort of wall that they can replace, and after they get the wall, they go for a shot. They get the shot for free. At that point, they just 50-50, right? So it really comes down to like sort of 2 shots. This shot doesn't really count. 25 is not significant damage, so in that case, you don't really count that. Replaces with cone, resets, right? Because he's worried about the shot, but more likely he's just gonna make it better at it. That's what he does. Goes for the jump shot, reset. Right, so a very common thing that you should be doing on PC. You have no excuse to not be doing this on keyboard and mouse. Is constantly blueprint resetting every single piece that you're into. Don't not reset, guys. Like it's such a free thing that we have with scroller reset. If you're not taking advantage of it, then you're not taking the full potential of keyboard and mouse, and you should definitely be doing that. So let's watch it one more time. Again, full boxes here, pretty simple, and he's going to replace the stair with the cone, and then reset and change. This does it so cleanly. It's actually impossible to do this fast, man. Like he's actually so talented at that. Really nice jump shot. I want you to notice the slight left movement when he makes that edit. Don't look at the wall, okay? Just look at MrSavage and you'll see exactly what I mean. Look at where he's positioned. He's sort of standing on the right side, and then as he makes that reset edit onto a peanut butter, look where he moves. Slight move into the left, and that's enough to create that nice jump shot. Right, you can go all the way to the corner if you really want to, but you don't really need to. It's okay. Okay, perfect shot and wins. Why does he sort of not build? He won. Like he has a huge HP advantage. The opponent could hit like 3-4 bullets onto MrSavage. MrSavage just needs to hit one shot, one medium-sized shotgun shot, and you just win. So in that case, that's why HP advantage is so important, guys. In that case, the opponent should not have ran out. The opponent should have sort of tried to break back wall or side wall. Obviously, MrSavage would have got the hold, but I think it's just better to try to run in the opponent's POV. This is a common phase, by the way. So if you want to sort of phase into a box, maybe you have HP advantage, or you want to just get in because you have no mats, use your last mat to sort of place a stair like this. And if you stand underneath it and crouch under the stair, you can actually phase in pretty simple. It's a pretty good vertical phase that a lot of people don't know of yet. People are very common with the ramp phase against the wall, but something you should also understand about the wall phase, you don't even need a ramp to time it, right? If you do perfect timing phase without a ramp and you're running forward, that momentum will push you through the wall. You just need to run at the wall at full speed and time the break exactly when you hit the wall with your body, and you'll actually just face a really good clip. Well, again, MrSavage is just showing us some mechanics, man. Like he would not, it's not practical what he's doing, and he understands that as well. This sort of thing is just like an ego thing where you are fighting your opponent and you understand he's not that good, so you make dry peaks like this. It's okay because MrSavage is significantly better, so he is going to just straight up out micro a lot of these people. Watch his solo cash cup mid-game fights. You'll learn so much, right? And we can actually do that for a video. I will do that in the future.
What are you doing?
Okay, this guy's horrible, but this happens on height a lot. I'm not kidding. In competitive matches, you need to judge whether the opponent's aware of you. Is this guy aware of MrSavage? Absolutely not. In this specific case, this guy is absolutely not aware of MrSavage. Absolutely not.
What are you doing?
Right? Still not aware. It's very obvious. You can read the body language. Look at this. Is this guy aware? It's pretty obvious. I think you guys can answer this question as well. That's what MrSavage is sort of looking at. If this guy turned around and looked up, MrSavage would immediately glide away and sort of land at a safe distance, build, and then start the fight from there. I'm telling you that this is absolutely applicable to real competitive high elo games, because most of the time when you're sort of gliding in the air after a launch pad, you look at height, you need to read their body language. Are they looking at you or not? That's how you decide whether you land on their head or not, right? There's information there that you can sort of take to decide that. And in this case, it's absolutely correct for MrSavage to land on this guy and do a lot of HP damage right away before the fight even like really starts.
What are you doing?
50-50, you will win, right? Because of HP advantage. Very simple. Doesn't even need a peek there. I think 100 HP, if you have decent aim with SMG and you don't choke, right, you should be fine. It's that guy for like 50. I didn't see the number. Jumps in because the body language, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Like, look. Obviously, you can jump in anyways, but like, look. This guy, the back of the head, that's what we see. No crosshair placement from this guy and blueprint out. Savage should absolutely jump in and look for a shot here. Pretty simple. Body language is an absolutely important part of fighting, and you can sort of read what the opponent's doing. That's what I was sort of talking about at the very beginning of the video, where I was telling you, like, look at, like, they're holding a blueprint or a gun. Then what should you do based on that information, right? But you can also look at where they're looking, right? That's not the only thing you can do. You can look at where they're looking. They're sort of telling you whether they're aware of your position or not, and you can use that to your advantage. If they're absolutely unaware, they're clueless, you can jump in. Try it, guys. Take some risks in arena. Like, don't play so safe. Yeah, this is the part where MrSavage starts to troll. Well, let's just have some fun. Dude, this guy's not real. No. Guys, get ahead. Zone's pulling. Can't be this far back on height, guys. Come on. I'm gonna lie, this is not a smart. Okay, GG. Little bit of a like relaxing moment at the end, but either way, I thank you guys for watching this entire video through. I hope you guys learned a lot. I put a lot of energy into this video. Please tell me if I talk too fast. I definitely upped the speed in this one, but if you can tell what I'm saying, then it's all good. Like, just tell me in the comments if I was talking too fast. Actually, be honest with me, I don't really care. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching this specific video. Hope you guys learned a lot. This is actually one of the better how to W keys that I think I've recorded, so hopefully you guys learned a lot, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.